Ever wonder how to make your titles pop like a blockbuster movie? Today I'm going to show you how to create a cinematic title effect in DaVinci Resolve. In the Edit tab, I would go to the Effects tab, and once you're in the Effects tab, go to the Generators selection. Within the Generator selection, there are a lot of generated pre-made files that you can use. We could suggest, if you're using this one, to do a solid color, and we suggest a darker color for this tutorial. You can also look for a one called a star field. We will take that star field and drag it down to our timeline. I would extend this out to about 10 seconds for this demo. From the Generators folder, drag the noise gradient of the clip that you just selected. Trim that down to about 2 seconds. Go to the inspector, set the detail to about 10, and then set the scale to 6. And from there, set the seeth rate to about 0. Switch over to the gradient tab and set the gradient to radial. And with that set to radial, you're now going to change the first gradient color. Click on the triangle, and you're going to then set the color to a darker color that you would want. In this case, we're going to go with a purple, and then we're going to change the white to a transparent color. Go and click the second triangle, click in the white area, and then bring that all the way down to black and say OK, and then go down to the alpha and change the alpha to 0. And with that, we now have what looks like clouds in a starry sky. Now make sure that the playhead is set to the beginning of the clip. There's a couple of ways of doing that. You can drag the playhead to the beginning of the clip, or as I like to do, I like to go up to the playhead itself and just type in 0000. That will bring it to the beginning of the clip itself. That is a little bit more precise, and sometimes we need to be exact on the numbers that we enter, so I get used to just doing it that way. So from there, we are now going to mark the start and end with a keyframe for both parameters. Change both x values to 0.4. So 0.4 for the x, 0.4 for the end x. We're now going to want to change the y to 0.5, and we're going to want to change the y to 0.3. At this point, you should change the overlay in the viewer so that it's easy to see the points on the screen that you are doing. Change the viewer to Fusion Overlay. And with that, we are now able to see the points that we just created. Now we're going to want to move the playhead to the end of the noise gradient, which is 2 seconds. You will now see the clouds. We are then going to change the X start position. We're going to change that to 1.5, and that will create a new keyframe. Increase the X value, move them to the clouds just disappear, and change the end Y to about 0.1 so that the clouds will actually get bigger as they move to the right. Now you can just disable the overlay, clicking on it, and then you can play the clip, and you can see that the clouds are moving to the right. They move, they get bigger. It looks like a puff of smoke going across the screen. We're now going to use a 5-second fade in on this clip. We are going to just grab the little white beginning and change it to 5. You will see the 5 appear. It looks like it's just now fading in and moving off to the right. While holding down the Alt key, you can now drag the noise gradient up to the next frame to create a duplicate and release. Go to the Settings tab and flip the clip horizontally. Now that we've done the background and the smoke animation, they should look pretty good. Next, we will use the Fusion page to add a title and effects. Select all 3 clips that we just created, right-click, and create new compound clip, and just name that Cloudy Sky. You can name it whatever it is that you want. Click on the Fusion button to open the Fusion page. We are going to then rename the medium one out. You can do that by clicking on it in F2 and just change it to whatever that you want. We're going to call it BK Sky. Drag the Text Plus node down into the Fusion. Merge the text node to the Sky node. Go from the output to the output. That creates a merge. Select the text node and go over to the inspector. With the inspector selected, you can enter whatever title that you want. In this case, we're going to be using screen title. From there, we are going to change the font to impact, and we're going to change the color to a little bit on the golden side. So we're just going to select the gold color and go with that. We will then change the font size a little bit bigger. We will then change the tracking, which spreads out the letters a little bit, and we will go with those for now. From here, we're going to go to the shading tab, and we're then going to change the gradient color to our golden color. And with the text node still selected, we're going to click the brightness button and add that into our node tree. From there, we are going to select the gain, and we're going to change it down to about 0.2. That will make our text a little darker. Then select Shift Space to open the tool selection window, and then add a zoom blur. Set the zoom amount to about 1, and from there we change the center position to about 0.6. Move the playhead back to the beginning, and then we're going to mark a keyframe for the zoom amount parameter. Go to the frame 60 and then set the zoom amount to 0. And if you want, you can play the clip and see what it looks like. But we want the title to appear after the smoke. So we're going to go to the beginning of the clip and select Merge One Node, and we're going to rename that to Title Blur. In the Settings tab, we're going to go over and we're going to change the blend to 0. That hides the title. We're going to mark a keyframe at that point. Now we're going to go over to frame 60 and set the blend to 1, and a new keyframe is added at that point. Now if we were to play the clip again, we will see that the smoke is there, then the title appears. Now we're going to branch out the text output to the title blur output, and that will create a merge node. We can rename this to original. As you can see now, our title has the original brightness to it. With the original brightness node selected, click the rectangle node, and that will add a rectangle to the original brightness as the effect mask input. In the inspector, change the width to about 1, and then we are going to change the height, in this case to about 0.2, but what you want is you want to be able to cover the top and bottom. So if your letters are shorter, it goes shorter. If your letters are higher, it's going to be a little higher. You just want it barely covering the top and bottom. We're also going to change the soft edge to about 0.01. That just drops it down just a little bit in intensity. Now we're going to move the playhead back to frame 60 to where the zoom actually stops. We're going to mark a keyframe from the rectangle's center parameter. Now we're going to move down the rectangle until the center title disappears. Now go to frame 120, and from there you're going to move the rectangle up so that the title is fully revealed. From there you can play the clip, and the title is now lighting up slowly from the bottom up. To light up the title, we will need to add a light source. In this case, we are going to go to the effects panel, and once on the effects panel, we are going to open the Fusion templates and then create a light source using the hotspot nodes. With that, we are going to be looking for lens flares, and in our case, we found that 26 kind of works best. You can try out any of them, play around with them, and find out the best one that suits and works for your needs. Drag the lens flare down to the node editor, and you can see that this is made up of 3 different nodes. You're going to highlight them, and then you're going to ungroup. Once they're ungrouped, you can work with them individually. But if you select the last one, you can see that there is nothing on the screen. That's because it needs to have an image input to get the hotspot to apply. Now we're going to drag a background node from the toolbar to the editor. Connect the output of the background node to the input of the first hotspot node. And right away you will see the lens flare in the viewer, but it may look a little too big, so we're going to make some adjustments to make it match our scene. First off, we're going to select the last node and we're going to reduce the primary strength to 0, increase a little bit of the secondary strength, just a little bit, and then open the L1 tab, and then enable lens reflections 2 and 3. From there, we're going to reduce the strength by a little bit. So in this case, we're probably going to try 0.2. Now we're going to select the second node, and then we're going to change the size to around 0.5. We're also going to change the aspect to about 6. We're also going to change the lens aberration to normal. Now we're going to select the first node, and we're going to reduce the hotspot to about 0.05. We're going to also change the aspect ratio to about 17. The lens aberration is going to be changed to flare and set the aberration to about 3. Now we just need to move it over to the beginning. Select the third node, click on the center, and then you can move it over to where about the title is going to be. Select the background node and change the alpha to 0 so that it becomes up transparent. Merge the output of the last node over to the original brightness output. That will create a merge node. You can rename that node to light source. Now bring the media out node to the viewer, and now we have all of the elements in the composition for the title reveal. You can move the media out by dragging it in to the viewer, or you can select the dot. This is the output. Move to frame 60 and select the last hotspot node. With the last hotspot node selected, move the primary hotspot to the lower left of the title. Grab that and just drag it down to the lower left. Switch to the hotspot tab and mark a keyframe to the primary center of the parameters. Then go to frame 120 and move the hotspot to the upper left, which adds a keyframe automatically. Now drag the control handles so that they create a curve that the light will follow to get there. So when you play this in between, you will see that it's following the curves. The hotspot light appears too early. They should start only after the zoom motion has completed. So in order to fix this, we're going to go to frame 60. Select the light source node and then go to the settings tab in the inspector. Set blend to 0 and mark a keyframe. Go to the frame 90 and set the blend back to 1. And now the hotspot fades in slowly as it starts moving away to the next. Next, we're going to add the effects to fade out the title. So we're going to go to frame 160, and then we're going to make sure that the light source is still selected. We're going to add a keyframe to the blend parameter, and then we're going to move it to frame 175, and now we're going to change the blend to 0. That will automatically create another keyframe. Similarly, the keyframe for the original brightness node, we do it at frame 160, and we add a keyframe. Now we're going to go over to the original brightness, and we're going to go to node 160. Under settings, we're going to go and set a keyframe at 1.0, and then we're going to go to frame 175, and then we're going to add a keyframe at 0. Now we're going to select the zoom blur node and then go to frame 175. And then we're going to add a keyframe to the zoom amount. Move forward to frame 200. And now we're going to set a zoom amount to about -1 and zoom out. And last, we will fade out the blurred title. So we're going to mark a keyframe at the blend parameter and the title blur. At frame 220, we're going to mark a keyframe. Now we're going to go to frame 235, and we're going to set the blend to 0, and that should do it. Once we play this back, you should have your cinematic title effect. Go back over to the Fusion or to the Edit tab and play this out.